Welcome to the Irish Farmers Journal Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy.
Hello, Patrick Donoghue here, news editor with the Irish Farmers Journal, and welcome to this week's podcast. The IFA held a conference on Brexit for farmers on Monday at Goffs in County Kildare, and you can read all about the debates there in this week's Irish Farmers Journal and on farmersjournal.ie. At the event, Deputy News Editor Katrina Murphy spoke to some of the farmers in the audience.
Frank McLean from Letterkenny, Donegal, and I'm a suckler farmer. I just hope that the negotiations, that we do get a good deal on the negotiations, and that it doesn't, living very close to the border in Donegal, we do see a lot of problems if we end up with a hard border. That's certainly, for us, it would be one of the big items, so we're hoping that we can get a soft border rather than a hard border.
Brendan McLaughlin from Manor Cunningham, Donegal, suckler, beef, sheep farmer. Very good today, a very great hearing today, what we heard, but I totally don't believe what Paul Hogan has said today, our EU Commissioner, because Theresa May, our British Prime Minister, called for an election to get a better mandate to go for, I think, a hard Brexit. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's what's going to actually happen, because I think she's just ruling the same way as Margaret Thatcher did the same. So I don't trust that, and it's going to be a serious decrement on our beef, our sheep and everything. I only live on 10 miles from the border, go up and down there every other day, and it's going to cause serious consequences on all farmers in Donegal, between cereal farmers, milk farmers, suckler, sheep and beef at all. But I hope Phil Hogan is correct, because there's another thing he said there today was that France had their election and he was happy with it. Well, I wouldn't be happy with it, because anything could happen in the next fortnight with the second election, when this other forget her name, Marina Penn could maybe get support from the farther down, and she's also going to Brexit. So if they Brexit, British Brexit, there's nothing else but Ireland have to Brexit too, as far as I'm seeing. That'll be a break-up of the whole EU if France breaks up, because there are 47 million people there, as far as I know. I think I'm near enough to the figure, but that's all I'll have to say on that. It was very interesting today to hear where they're all coming across and whatnot and whatnot. Well, no one seems to know. You know, we're all speculating, and I wouldn't want to speculate too far, but that's my only serious thing I have said there about I think she's going for a hard Brexit. And people have to live that, and people have to work on a hard Brexit, thinking that's going to happen. If it comes question easy, well and good, but if not, I'll tell you, that's serious. And you know, in Europe and all the money we're getting in Europe, we need all that money to support our food industry, because we can't produce food at the price it's costing. And we need all the food supports we can get, all the schemes we can get, for we'll not be there for it. It's not very nice, because of a lot of young people farming now, and they're all off farm income because the farmers can't retain an income, and it's a shame the way farming has to go down that way.
Oh, I'm John Powell down in Nina, dairy farmer. A little more confidence today now from what Philip Hogan said, and quite a few of the others, that we may not have the tariffs on us as much as we expected. But I still believe that, I have an opinion that it might never happen. Michael O'Leary has the same opinion, and a few more. Well, I have confidence that we will sell our dairy products no matter where it goes. And we have a good selling team in Board Orno, and we have a good Board Bia is doing a good job around the world. And even there at the letter there, Tom Clinton, which I know, has quite confidence in what we can sell. That cheddar cheese will still go into England, because the New Zealanders say that they won't ever put it in at that price.
Maureen Murray, Leitrim, Treasurer, Leitrim IFA. Frightening, really, if you sat back and thought too much about what could happen. As you heard me in there, the advice to the Minister is, when the elections in England is over, it's time for hard talking, and that there can be no hard border, because it'll be all over for us in the western counties and the northern counties. It just couldn't. You couldn't imagine that a border could go back again. And I hope they're right, that the Good Friday Agreement has something signed into law that can't happen. And I hope a minister in England, the Prime Minister in England, Prime Minister May is listening to all that was said here today, and that in no way a hard border can go on, because we can't afford to put tariffs on food, or there will be no food in Ireland going forward.
John Ward from Leitrim, joined the NFA back in 1957, walked to Dublin in the 60s, done the jail 66, 67, 67, blocked the road, was arrested for blocking red collectors' offices, and has been a member of IFA and NFA down the years. I was on rural development and I was on National Council. I was on the Livestock Committee, various different committees within the House. So as Brexit is concerned now, I'm very worried for the simple reason over the northern. We live so close to the north, 20 miles away from me, and I know what a hard border was before, and it would be detrimental for the agricultural industry had the hard border to come back into play again.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I would be terribly worried about. So it's very easy to say, well, no, Britain is leaving the EU, but we'll have a soft border. It's next to impossible to have a soft border and be totally out of the EU. So that'll be the worrying part of it as far as the farming community is concerned. Yeah.
The Irish Farmers Journal Weekly Podcast.
The event was hosted by IFA President Joe Healy, who also marked 1 year in office this week. He looks back on the past 12 months with news correspondent Amy Ford.
It has been busy, it has been challenging, but it has been great. And, the level of enthusiasm out there amongst farm members, farm members all over the country, regardless of county, just happy to have IFA defend them and be the voice for them. And I suppose, at this event we're at here today, that voice is required to be heard very clearly, because it's a year today, and one of the things that no one had factored in this time last year was the Brexit vote in the UK on the 23rd of June. But the Brexit is one part of what we do. Other campaigns on at the moment is, the CAP campaign is ongoing, the ANC campaign is ongoing, trade deals, the food supply chain, and that's aside at all from inputs and the sheep prices, beef prices, dairy prices, and prices across all the different commodity sectors. So it's a lot of good work going on.
And in the years since you've been in office, how would you feel IFA has progressed from where it was when you got elected as president?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm very happy with the way IFA is at the moment. As I said to you, there's a lot of work being undertaken. County executives right around the country, and I've visited every county executive, some of them on a number of occasions, well attended. We had 947 branch meetings in the November-December period where they discussed many issues, including kind of the work in the budget. And I think, the strength of IFA manifested itself in the outcome of the budget last year. We met with every minister that was connected in any way or affected, that their portfolio affected agriculture or farm families, and got a lot of positive movement, whether you talk about the low-cost money, the low-cost finance, the flexibility in the income averaging and the opt-out for the year, the extra money, the €400 extra for the earned income allowance, and also the changes in the rural social scheme and the farm assist scheme. They were amongst some of the major and big successes we had in the budget. But the day the budget is over, you move on to something else, and the ANC probably took over at the end of the year with the review required this year. We've had a round of regional and county meetings on the ANC. Also, the first ball has been thrown in on CAP as well, in relation to the future of the CAP, and that takes on a life of its own with Brexit as well, and the fact that the UK was a net contributor to CAP to the tune of €3 billion. They give 6, but 3 billion goes back to their own farmers. So we're anxious that 3 billion has to be made up, and the Commissioner here this morning said it had to be heads of state and governments of the other EU 27 that made that up. It has, but there's also the divorce settlement, and that money is there, and I think CAP has served Irish and EU consumers as well as farmers well over the last since 1962. If you look at it, the average household was spending 30% of their average household income in the 1960s when CAP was introduced on food. Today that's at 12 or 13%. That's as a result of CAP subsidising farmers to produce top quality traceable food, and that's what we need to ensure in the Brexit negotiations, is that we continue to produce top quality food, but that there's an equivalence of standards, that who we're competing against has to produce it to that high standards as well, because that adds extra cost to the production costs.
Okay, and a year from now, where do you see IFA? Where do you want it to be positioned?
I'm fairly sure, Amy, that in a year from now we could still have a conversation and an interview totally dedicated to Brexit, another conversation totally dedicated to CAP. We probably will never get away from the fact that in a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, we'll still be able to talk long and hard about commodity prices and the need for a fairer margin for the farmer from the food chain. And who knows, the ANC mightn't altogether be put to bed in the year ahead as well. But I think from an IFA's point of view, what I want to see is that the organisation will be to the forefront on all those issues and being a voice for Irish farmers and being successful in its negotiations with, whether it's politicians here in Ireland or politicians in Europe, or whether it's the agri-businesses or the processors anywhere. But in anything that affects Irish farmers, IFA will have a presence there, whether you talk about banks and vulture funds to commodity prices to direct payments. That's the role of IFA, to be the voice for the farmer, for the 72,000 farmers it represents.
Welcome to the Irish Farmers Journal weekly podcast.
Irish Farmers Journal beef specialist Ciarán Lenihan was in County Longford for the Better Farm programme in the past few days. There he met Robert Abbott, a programme participant who is looking into finishing his own bulls. They discussed his options with advisors John Greeny and Shane Devaney.
You want to finish, Robert?
Like this.
Well, I want to push
the
I know that. I want to push the gross margin, though.
Yeah.
That's money in the pocket at the end of the day. Like and you kind of have to look back at the fellas that are making it, and it seems to be the bull beef, doesn't it?
But what do you think of the system, going back to the bull systems now, and for, I suppose he's never done bulls before, right?
No.
And this talk of those 6-month bulls, they're up at the top of the system. So I think any man starting off, starts off doing bulls 18-19 months, does it? What do you think of it?
The summer system in 18-19 bull, it still works out well. You're still slaughtering around, so you're a year in July.
See the Burns alternate, they're doing something similar there.
You still have to go a second winter with that. I have to be on the grid.
But let's say he's never done bulls before.
I'm open to trying, but
for a man starting off with bulls,
for a man starting off with bulls
to do it up to 16 months.
He probably suits summer calving better. It's literally just 100-day ad lib job, as opposed to kind of trying to grow them over the 2 months before they go ad lib.
I know if he's spring calf and he goes the 18-19 month system, he's the option to get them out to grass here in the spring, get them to cheap weight on them, get them back in house probably sometime from May on or that time, and then you're killing them out over 100 days after.
I won't be getting them back until we'll be getting them out to hopefully start of July.
And the other thing in that system, the 60 month, what I've been told, and you need a very, very good looking cow.
Yes, you need to be weaning. If you're weaning at less than 375 kilos, you're at nothing. Because
that's that up to late now. That's my problem. They're definitely not near that. These are the cows that make, but I think the problem is the grass.
Yep.
Well, you want to be 500 kilos at 12 months on the first birthday.
Yeah, on your birthday. Yeah.
On the first birthday, they want to be 500. Yeah, there's very few people, I suppose, doing the 16-month bull right,
I think if you look at it, the safe option, this my impression from talking to you is I think 18-9 month bull system is a sort of a safe way to start. That'd be my impression of it.
And then try and
it's trying to figure out the spring or the autumn which way you want to go, but I'd say the spring system we can get them out of grass early and get them out of bed and whatever.
I wouldn't push my cattle dates though, just to focus around bull beef.
But you
put it
can't
around
make it suit your land.
Your land type.
Yeah.
Your land type. You have 2 young kids in there as well, like, you know. So if it suits better in July to be calving than it does in the month of March or April, that's what I'd be doing.
The Irish Farmers Journal weekly podcast.
Now, turning to Cork, a wildfire engulfed a large section of farmland in the hills of West Cork last weekend. Neil Lucy is the manager of the Guggenbarrow Hotel in the area, and he told Irish Farmers Journal reporter Tommy Miles what he saw.
The current update is that the fire is now moving eastwards and westwards. Westwards from the northern slopes of the mountains around Guggenbarrow, there is the Saugart Mountains, and they're heading towards the Borland area. Eastwards, heading towards Coombe-Taugart and maybe North Ballingeary eventually.
Is this an annual issue, or is this a really exceptional case?
The last fire in this valley was actually 26 years ago this week. So the week before I got married, and the day I got married I had no hair on my arm or no eyelashes from quenching fires here. So this is a very, very unique event, especially the last night, the nature, because it was so big.
How many brigades had you involved here last night?
Four units here last night. So we had Bantry, Dunmanway, Macroom and Skibbereen, and their emergency unit came here as well. So they set up a control point here as well last night.
What's the biggest problem in this?
The biggest problem with this is probably communication. Is when you have a serious event on a large scale upland area like we have here, it is very, very hard to transfer information from one agency to the other agency, because here you're multi-agency. You have the Gardaí, you have the Cuilta, you have the fire services, and you're trying to bring in as many as you can to actually activate together.
And you mentioned that you could hear sheep trying to escape last night.
Oh, definitely, yeah. That's the scary part. Is, I mean, just find that, I mean, there's thousands of acres of land burnt, but like when you'd hear sheep bleating in the valley last night, I mean, it was heart-rending stuff. Like,
yeah.
You know, and you just know that you just can't do anything.
No, I suppose farmers have been blamed in certain occasions for hill fires. You suspected this one?
No, definitely not.
It's a freak incident.
It's a freak incident. The landowners here on either side of us are really, really decent neighbours, and they would not be within their right mind to put a match to anything that's actually here, because this is a large upland area, and I mean they're only going to destroy their own land and their own stock, and that's too much of a stress and strain. Not possible.
We hope that you're enjoying this Irish Farmers Journal podcast. Find out more at farmersjournal.ie.
It's not just Ireland which has one eye on Brexit. New Zealand and its Agriculture Minister Nathan Guy is also looking at Britain's exit from the EU. Recently I met with Minister Guy and I started by asking him what opportunities he sees New Zealand has out of Brexit.
First thing is we've been trying to negotiate an FTA with the European Union for many years now. Mm-hmm. The scoping study has been done and concluded, and we move to the next stage in the next 3 to 6 months once it goes through the internal European Union processes to start a formal negotiation. That's likely to be in the next 3 to 6 months, mm-hmm. which we're incredibly excited about. What is not well understood is there's a lot of collaboration happening in terms of joint ventures and two-way trade opportunities. You know, Fonterra has some strategic relationships and joint ventures in the European Union. And interesting, when you look at Fonterra's number, they export a certain proportion into the European Union, but then export the same amount out, mm-hmm. particularly whey and lactose, add value to that, and then put it into third markets like China and Southeast Asia. So that's a real win-win. Then if you have a look at Zespri, they've made strategic investments in Belgium and France and other markets, Italy, and often that's taking local kiwi fruit that's grown as well into mm-hmm. third markets. The same with Jazz apples in Belgium and France. So there's some numerous examples about collaboration and joint ventures and long-term strategic partnerships. So we're excited about the opportunity with the European Union, and we thank particularly the UK and Ireland for mm-hmm. their support to get us to this point. And then we think strategically and more long-term about Brexit. Yeah. And there's no way that a formal negotiation can begin until the whole Article 50 has concluded. Yeah. And that's likely to take 2 years.
With the wind at their sails, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it could be up against the odd headwind through that 2 yearly process. So There's a trade dialogue that's already commenced. That's between officials to officials. They've had their first meeting. Ministers have met. Minister Macleay, our Trade Minister, and Minister Fox have had a great working relationship. They indicated at their recent meeting about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Minister Fox said that New Zealand and Australia are likely to be first cab, and that's in the speech.
Yeah.
So we think there's further opportunities in the UK market for New Zealand, but we need to get to the point where we can actually sit down and have those discussions and begin some form of formal negotiation.
And that can't happen until...
And there'll be discussions that have already started happening, but formally that can't happen until the full Brexit has occurred. Yeah, what was really interesting was we worked our way through the dairy downturn. That was over almost 3 years. Our exports still grew.
They fell from about 14 to about 13. There wasn't a huge drop.
No, I was just going to say, but our overall exports from little old New Zealand grew quite considerably because while we're considered to be large in terms of dairy, certainly in exports, but not in global production, we're only 3%. So we have already a very diversified economy in New Zealand, and it's quite diversified across the primary sector. You're right. Examples of Manuka honey, examples of zespri going well. We had PSA not that many years ago, and that almost brought the industry to its knees. So the rebounding in a positive sense for zespri is fantastic. Then apple production is growing incredibly well. We've got an opportunity to add more value. We can only feed 40 million people. So if you think about Shanghai and Beijing, they consume all that we produce. The opportunity for New Zealand is to look at our product diversification to add more value, because we've set a target of doubling the value of our agriculture export. But the only way we can't double the number of dairy cows or catch double the amount of fish in our oceans. We've got an opportunity to try and add value and move more of our product out of commodity into value add, looking at long-term relationships and contracts. Our farmers are a lot more connected to the consumer and to international markets than they've ever been. In the 1980s, before we had almost subsidies coming off overnight, we were focused on volume and we lost sight of the consumer. And so now we've had to really focus on what does the consumer want. They want products that are safe, that are ethically produced, just like Origin Green here. And we need to take those to market. And we need to be focused on the consumer and having the consumer sitting at the forefront of any decision making that our processors make. It's supply and demand. That's what it basically is. So European Union's producing less milk. Ireland has produced considerably more and will continue to do so. New Zealand has reduced considerably because of heavier culling, focusing in on costs, less PKE in the system. So we see the outlook still as very positive, and we're all the time looking at diversifying our economies. While we've got a very successful FTA with China, it's a very important market, but all the time we're looking to...
And that's just one of the questions. Solid results from Fronterra last week. 418 million thereabouts. The perception here amongst dairy guys is that New Zealand puts its egg-shaped whey protein or whey powder in the basket-shaped China. Is there an over-reliance on China? And maybe you're about to answer that.
It was, but that's fine. So China's a very important market for us, but we don't want to have all the eggs in the China basket. It's 1.3 billion people. We've got a very successful FTA. It's just been announced, Premier Lee was in New Zealand last week, that we're going to start a negotiation of and upgrade our FTA, which we're hugely excited about. We've been given an opportunity to get chilled meat into China for 10 plants for 6 months. It's a trial. And we know from exporting meat around the world that if you can get chilled, it's worth double the value.
Absolutely.
So that's a real positive for us. We look at all the time new and emerging markets, and we're trying to land an FTA with the Gulf states. Obviously, there's European Union. We remain optimistic, albeit less so than we were, that we can salvage something from TPP. TPP 11.
Yeah.
Minister Macleay's been talking to his counterparts. It'll all hinge on Japan and whether they want to do a deal with the other 10.
Yes.
Because that's still a significant market.
Correct.
So let's wait and see.
The Irish Farmers Journal podcast, online at farmersjournal.ie, on the Irish Farmers Journal app and on iTunes every Thursday.
European Commissioner for Agriculture Phil Hogan was in Ireland earlier this week, and he said the Commission would decide on its proposal for the future of glyphosate this Wednesday. We now know that this has been postponed, but his position remains in favour of a long-term authorisation. He spoke with Amy Ford.
Commissioner for Agriculture, Phil Hogan, here at IFA Brexit event in Goffs. Glyphosate is very topical at the moment. I'm just wondering on the vote, when is it likely to happen and how do you see it?
A decision will be made on glyphosate by the European Commission this week.
Okay.
And it'll be on Wednesday. So.
On Wednesday, and how do you see that vote going?
Well, I'll be strongly supporting to go on the basis of science that has been recently reviewed to allow glyphosate to be used for agriculture or for urban people who want to do their gardens. In other words, the good old-fashioned Roundup should be allowed to be used in the normal way.
The Irish Farmers Journal weekly podcast.
Finally, there's a special feature on home care in this week's Irish Country Living, covering all the big questions family are asking when a loved one needs help in their everyday life. But some small things can go a long way too. Consumer editor Ciara Leahy goes through a selection of clever devices that can make a difference for just a few euro with Laura Roddy.
Hi, my name's Laura Roddy, journalist with Irish Country Living and the Irish Farmers Journal. In this week's Irish Country Living, our consumer editor has an interesting piece on products that can help people with health issues be more comfortable at home, or even indeed assist older people in staying in their home. Ciara, tell me a little about this.
Hi Laura, yeah, so basically in this week's Irish Country Living we have an overall kind of look at carers and carers in the home. Our health correspondent Margaret Hawkins has got a piece on it, and we have a feature written by Maria Moynihan on the difference a carer can make. And I suppose from a consumer point of view, I looked at products that in the home, for example, can help people that have health issues, or indeed assist older people in staying in their home for a longer period of time. And really it's the simple things that can make a big difference when it comes to mobility issues and pain management. I mean, whether it's a temporary issue such as a broken leg or a sore back, more serious issue like arthritis or Parkinson's, or indeed palliative care, there are a range of devices on the market that give people more independence. The thing is, they're pretty hard to come by. It's a bit of a niche area. But I spoke to John Connell, who's director of Care Store in Ennis, County Clare, which is great because it's an Irish company.
So tell me about this handy plug.
Yeah, Laura, so the handy plug pull is, I suppose, exactly what it says on the tin. You know yourself, if there's a plug in a socket and it's wedged in well, it requires a bit of effort to get it out. Now, imagine if you have arthritis or poor grip or reduced mobility, or lack of strength in your arm. This can be a big problem. So really, it's very simple. It's a loop like a handle loop that's on your plug. So you literally just pull the loop rather than having to get the plug out of the socket. Now, the only thing is, if you do have arthritis and stuff, you might need a hand setting it up, as you have to rewire the plug. But for €27, it could make a big difference to someone, even just plugging in and out the TV.
Yeah, cool. And this sock aid feature, could people benefit of all ages?
Yeah, the sock aid is a really interesting one, because if you have any issues, getting dressed can be a problem. So whether it's a broken ankle, a knee or hip replacement, even torn ligaments or a bad back, putting socks in your feet can be a very small issue that becomes a big deal. This product is €9, and basically you put the sock around it and over your foot, and basically you just pull it up then. It's a really handy device for young and old. It takes a little technique to get it working, but it's worth the effort. Another one that we have is another dressing aid that we featured is the Bra Angel. Now, look, mobility issues or not, getting a bra on and off can be a bit of a task at the best of times, but this Bra Angel dressing aid is quite literally, it is designed by an occupational therapist to assist women who find it difficult to bring both ends of their bra together when they're dressing. And it can benefit, again, from those that have mobility issues, but it also can assist women that may have had a mastectomy, that are dealing with a modified bra that's unbalanced. But even someone that's got shoulder issues or back issues, reaching around if that's a problem. This is €33, and it's something that you use every day, and I'd say it's money well spent if you have any of those issues.
Tell me, I see as well the jar opener.
Yeah, the jar opener is one that can be used by everybody as well, in the sense of, who hasn't at one stage needed a jar opener. There are a huge amount of jar openers on the market, and they work in the basic way of giving you the adhesion to open a jar with ease. But this one, the Dyson jar opener, is only €6. It's waterproof and has a sticky feel to it, so it gives you a better grip. And also, look, if that is a problem for you opening jars, there's also things such as a water bottle opener, which works in the same way. So it means that, like, getting a bottle of water or getting a soft drink when you're out and about isn't a big deal, and it's pretty small and compact, so you can slip it into your bag or your pocket when you're on the go.
Yeah, okay. And then cutlery aids have been around a while, Ciara, but technology keeps developing.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, probably in this market, like, many people might be au fait with cutlery aids, a bigger knife and fork, just to give people the independence to be able to feed themselves if there are any issues in regards to mobility or reduce mobility. Basically, the range has expanded to suit a variety of needs, and the one that we featured is the Etz San Roman Flexi cutlery, and they're ergonomically designed and have a soft rubber strap. So basically, the strap goes over your wrist, so it means that even if your grip is very poor, the strap is kind of keeping the cutlery in place. Also, there's ones with bigger handles if you require that. But really, I suppose if there is an issue, cutlery aids can make a big difference, just to be able to give yourself the independence to feed yourself. And on that note, just the last products we also have is something called a straw clasp. Now this is €5, but if there's somebody in your life or you yourself have issues picking up a glass or even being able to drink out of a straw, this is €5 that is so well spent. Basically, it just holds a straw in place. And I know myself, I have people in my life that that drinking is an issue. I mean, even just going out to a bar, it gives them the freedom to, just put their head down, have a sip, rather than waiting for somebody to actually hold a glass up to them to give them a drink. So whether you're going out to a restaurant and having a cup of tea, or maybe you're going to a bar for a drink, I mean, it really just gives you a massive amount of independence. It's €5, it fits in your bag, and I think that this is really a good one to feature as well. All this information is in this week's Irish Country Living.
The Irish Farmers Journal podcast, online at farmersjournal.ie, on the Irish Farmers Journal app, and on iTunes every Thursday. Brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy.